Democrats are fully to blame with the struggle of the great American public is going through at the airports. It's extortion by the Democrats. They want to basically renegotiate a deal that they already approved. And they're doing it largely for a criminal element. So also the Democrats are putting our country at great risk during this period of time, a period that they call a war. They call it a war. We call it a military operation.
Delays and wait times at airports are getting worse as TSA goes unfunded and agents are calling out of work. Airport leaders are fed up with this. More than 100 are demanding Congress and the DHS funding impasse, warning disruptions are only growing. But a deal could be in sight. Senators striking an optimistic tone after meetings late last night. Democrats say a potential agreement would fund all of Homeland Security except parts of ICE. Steve, this was something that it seemed that the president, Republicans were not going to agree to, but Democrats are good at this. They stomp their feet, they hold their breath until they get their way. ICE is funded, as Brian always points out, till 2029, so you have a little wiggle room there and can deal with it later. But is it wise to cave to them at this point?
The answer is no. And this is, again, the Republican Party has a real problem in communications, in setting the agenda or how you see things. And this is, again, where the president should have talked to the American people and laid out what is actually happening here. ICE is funded. What they're depriving of is your right to travel. And one of the things it also underscores longer term is we have to go the way of other airports like San Francisco, where private companies do the security, same pay, same standards, but you don't have to worry about what happens in Washington and Congress in these budget battles.
Can I ask how we do that? Because I brought up the option of SFO, and Marcus Lemonis was, I think, questioning me on some of the details, because I know it's a contract. So are you not, when there's a shutdown, is it because the contract has already been paid, or does the contract only get, the contract must be paid regardless of if DHS is funded or if there's the government shutdown. So do you know exactly how that works? Because I couldn't figure out how the private, as part of that SPP program, and SFO is one of the participants, are able to do it through federal contractors regardless of if there's a shutdown or not.
Yeah, I think they get a certain amount of money, and I think the airport themselves can make payments as well, unlike poor Elon Musk, who couldn't pay the people. You don't have the Fed standing in the way. So you figure out how to keep the thing going, and usually they know how to do operations better. They don't have so many restrictions. So again, you're not taking anything away. What you're doing is making the thing work better.
Now, the backdrop of this also was the hearings on the Hill for Markwayne Mullin's confirmation. Kristi Noem was out, and he was being assaulted in some cases by other lawmakers when he was asked questions, I thought. But so he's confirmed. So that actually is a good thing. It's, for me, it's one of the things to check off the list. A smaller one.
I mean,
smaller one.
If you're in a tough situation in life, who would you rather have there to get you out of it than Markwayne Mullin? Honestly, I mean, these senators who are questioning him, like, he doesn't have the temperament for it. Like, come on, please. So I think it's good that he's in that spot.
And by the way, it's very telling, even though we think of him as a two-fisted guy who doesn't hold himself back. He's actually respected by his colleagues.
Oh, yeah.
Well said.
Very, very able guy.
Yeah. I mean, and I think there's a lot of people who went after him in that hearing who privately know, like, he's way more competent than me. I'm just having to put on a show. All right, so.
You mean Rand Paul?
Well, I don't know, maybe Rand Paul. They got into it. Yeah.
No, Rand Paul, that is a personal beef that he has, and he should have settled that privately. This is my opinion. But he was trying to make hay out of something that he has his panties in a knot about. And this is not about who's the best man for the job. This is something personal that he needs to settle in the privacy of his own home.
Can I ask you a question, though? Part of the Trump view on this is if you're doing DHS and you do lump everything together, he's also trying to put the Save America Act, the Voter ID Act, in there as well.
Big mistake.
Okay.
Wait a second, but I wanted to weigh in on this point. Because Steve said, don't do the deal where you take everything except for ICE, right? You said don't compromise. I think that's what you said. Why not? Why not take this everything but ICE deal right now? fund everything else. ICE is funded through 2029,
Yep.
not an issue. ICE can do whatever they want through 2029, not an issue. Fund the other things. Everyone thinks, oh, well, that was the Democrats' idea. They're going to get tons of credit for that. Oh, my goodness, you wouldn't want to lose to them on that. In 2 months, is anybody going to care that it was maybe the Democrats' idea or maybe not the Republicans' idea? I don't think anybody's going to care.
You hit a good point. It just, in people's minds, this goes to the dysfunction of the U.S. political system today. They're not going to say who's right and who's wrong. They messed up. But the thing is, putting other stuff in that bill to pay the people at TSA, like the SAVE Act, messes things up. Keep it simple and make the SAVE Act separate, because all you're going to do is stall, and Democrats are going to say,
But
here, you're putting in stuff. Now we have something else that we want to put in.
But they're afraid that they can't pass the SAVE Act without rolling it together.
They're not going to get it anyway.
They're not going to get the SAVE Act is not being passed into law, period. I think President Trump is just trying to message on it, that it's important to him, but they need to. ICE is funded till 2029. This is the Democrats not paying these individuals and putting Americans at risk. But thank God that Markwayne Mullin will run DHS.
Yeah, Ian Holman will get that show back on track.
All right.